Now we've got Dr. Theodore Ekechi, former Commissioner for Information and Strategy in Imo State, but then he's the Director, Election Planning and Monitoring for APC's Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we've been speaking about developments in Imo State. Now everybody knows that it's the 25th of April that they will know whether or not the governor will call for the removal vans or he will continue holding the keys to the government house. What's your account of what happened on that day?
Well, before I go there, let me, because you mentioned 25th, I think 25th, as far as we are concerned in Imo State, as far as Imo people are concerned, it's just a mere formality date. That's the day of formalization of the confirmation of His Excellency Owele Anayo-Rocha Okorocha as the second-term governor of
via
Imo
elections.
State. Via election, it's just a confirmation of formalities. And by the time I give you all the analysis, you will begin to wonder if the PDP who wants to go into this new contest with us are actually complete with their senses.
Let's hear it.
But let me go back to the question you asked. What's my opinion or what's the account of the incidences of the day? April 11, 2015. Well, let me say, it was a day of a battle royale. Let me put it that way. It was a battle between darkness and light. It was a day when the people of Imo State reinstated and restated their resolve to entrench democracy in Imo State. It was a day when the people of Imo State also insisted that they were not going to go back to Egypt, that having left Egypt, there would be no going back. That was the day the people of Imo State confirmed that what happened in 2011, when the forces of God fought against the forces of Satan and forces of darkness, will still hold. That was the day when the people of the Imo State voters were unleashed with all the military machinery that anybody can think about within the state and without the state. That was the day the people of Imo State were confronted with a police force that couldn't help showing how biased they are within the election.
So what
that
changed?
was the day we witnessed what I may call Janjaweed political ballot snatching. That was the day we witnessed what I may also call Gestapo kind of police operations. But in all this, the people stood their ground and said, no, the will of the people cannot be weakened, no matter the number of barrels of guns that are facing them.
But you heard the allegation that Chief Metu made, and the PDP in Imo State are saying that fake policemen were arrested and that they were actually given orders to move around by your party.
Well, the consolation I have is that we're all Nigerians and we're all living witnesses to the antics of PDP for the past 16 years. So there are certain things I do not need to stress myself to begin to make proofs. We know the character of PDP. We know the character of their hit and deny. They shout in the bush. They come to the road and say, who is that shouting? They cause trouble within the bush. They run back to the road and say, who are not shouting? Everybody who has followed the development in Imo State will recall that we've been crying 1 month, 2 months, 3 months before the election that PDP are not planning for an election. That PDP had concluded all arrangement to hijack the results of the election. They had concluded all arrangement to subvert the will and the wish of the people of Imo State, who have been crying. We raised alarm few days even before the election, and I don't know why the security forces never listened to that. That PDP are busy sewing uniforms, that they have opened up training camps for fake army, fake police.
How come they accuse your party of giving those uniforms? And in fact, they say that one of the persons that was shot, the government says that they will give him 2 million or so, but now you say no. They are the ones who were sewing uniforms.
It's totally untrue. I'm saying go back to the records. You will see that we have raised alarm. We have raised alarm about the imminence of all the incidences in Imo State. We did. And we pinpointed those who are massively behind them, including Metu, who came on air. I don't want to go too much into this. Otherwise, one should have been challenging Metu when election is taking place in Anambra State. You're a very big stakeholder in Anambra State. A very important citizen of Anambra State. What are you doing in Imo?
Anambra or Abia?
He is from Anambra. What are you doing in Imo?
But he voted in Abia State.
No, he couldn't have voted in Abia State.
That's what he said.
Well, I would be surprised if he did, but whatever it is, he did say he left Imo State in the morning. In other words, he spent the whole night, the whole days in Imo State. He was one of the general officers commanding commanding the operations.
GOC?
You said he
That's a
spent
military.
the entire day in Imo State. Is that what you said?
No, he admitted, I listened to him, he even admitted that he left Imo State in the morning in order to go and vote, and that he returned in the day. All right? And I was going to say that at least means that he spent the night in Imo State. Having left Imo State in the morning means that he passed the night in Imo State. But I can tell you that Metu was almost resident in Imo State for about a week or 2 weeks before the election. And we gave him this name in Imo State that he's a general officer commanding all the field operations. He had a situation room where he sat and were coordinating most of all these atrocities that were going on in Imo State.
Well, anyway, that's politics. His party is one of the contenders for that position in the state, so he has every right, because recall that even your party at a point in time screamed out when some of its bigwigs were prevented from going into a particular state for also a state election. But looking at this issue he's raised, saying that elections didn't hold in some local government areas, and also saying that votes were awarded to your candidate incumbent, because these are serious and weighty allegations. What other views do you have? Because you voted in Imo State.
Sure, I did.
So he's giving us his own account. What's your account?
Yeah, let me say this. I say the consideration I have, and that's the question of every Imolite, is that we know the character, and we know the history, we know the pedigree of PDP. We know they do one thing and they come out to accuse the person who is the victim. Let's take it this way. Look at the figures. Owerri led in 21 of 27 local governments in Imo State. He won 21 out of 27 local governments in Imo State.
How did he win the case?
I'm coming. I'll go back to that to you. Owerri scored 25% in 26 out of 27 local governments in Imo State. Emeka Ihedioha only have about 6 local governments to his credit. Within 3 local governments alone that falls within his own, what I may call I call it his own kindred. Those are the kindred. That is the local governments of Umbise. He mustered 130,000 votes. Who would you naturally accuse of awarding himself votes or allocating votes to himself? Emeka scored 55,000 votes in Abombise. Go and check the records. What is the number of registered voters in Abombise? What is the state average of PVC collection? What is the state average of turnout of voters on election day?
What did you see when you checked?
What I saw on check is that ordinarily the total number of people who came out to vote in Abombise couldn't have been more than 25,000. I come from a neighboring Ngobala local government, which is of the same federal constituency with the governorship candidate of PDP. I'm from the same federal constituency with him. That treatment they meted out to our people in Abombise. They tried it in Ngobala. But we thank God for our resilience. We thank God for the experience I had as a director, planning and monitoring at the national headquarters. It was so helpful in checkmating them. Otherwise, what they came for, negotiating, in my local government in Ngobala was 65%. They negotiate for these votes. There is usually no election. Ask any man, ask any woman, ask any trader, ask any cook in Abombise. Ask them if there was any election in Abombise. They will say there was none. There wasn't any. Ask them if there was any election in Ahiazo, in Ezinihite. Those are the Mbise stronghold of Emeka Ihedioha. They would say there was no election.
But
so the truth of the matter is this: we don't need to go too far to see the truth.
But okay, speak to this one before.
Let me just say this to you, because I had Metu talking about their candidate being popular and all that. Well, I'm not going to say that Emeka Ihedioha is not a popular candidate in Imo State. I'm not going to say that he is not liked by people in Imo State. He has his own share of popularity. But it is nothing. There is no basis of comparison between Owele and Orocha Okorocha.